Have you ever been curious about how positive affirmations actually work? Maybe you're a positive affirmation skeptic like I was, but if you've ever struggled with anxiety or negative thoughts, especially when it comes to your to-do list or productivity, aka I didn't get enough done today, I didn't work hard enough, like all of those thoughts, you'll want to watch today's interview. Today on How to Manage Time, Ask the Experts, Rima Danielle Joma is sharing with us how we can actually use positive affirmations to lead a more fulfilled life and stop worrying so much about what you produce. Unless it's veggies, just kidding. Rima is a licensed psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, vegan lifestyle advocate, and yoga teacher from Los Angeles. She now lives in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, which you'll hear in the interview all of the jungle sounds and the rain. From her home where the ocean meets the jungle, Rima has a virtual psychotherapy practice. She hosts the Rima the Jungle Girl podcast, and she leads plant medicine and couples retreats. I hope you loved today's interview as much as I did, and hit the like button below if you're excited to watch it as well. Awesome. Welcome to the show, Rima. I'm so excited to have you today. I would love for you to share a little bit about you and your story.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Let's see. I live in Costa Rica. I'm from California originally. I'm a psychotherapist. I am a vegan. That's a big part of my lifestyle. I really help clients who want to be their authentic self. So I meet them where they're at, and then I use many different tools and things to help them so that they can be their own healer eventually. And I use hypnotherapy as one of my main tools. And as we're going to be talking about today, positive affirmations and really taking control of the mind, looking at the brain as a muscle that you can strengthen.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And I love that analogy that like a lot of therapists and things like mental health professionals use about their brain. Like it's like literally going to the gym. Like you have to train it and like work on it constantly.
Yeah, and it seems so obvious when we break it down because it's like mental health, physical health, a mental therapist, a physical therapist, like it's all kind of the same thing. We're just going to someone to help guide us, to give us exercises and things, but we ultimately have to do the work and understand why the things are important. So that's a big thing for me, is that people leave my work or my sessions understanding why things are important, not just this sort of like, oh, manifest what you want and it'll all come true, no, it's not about that. It's really a more practical, scientific thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm an engineer too, so like I'm total brain nerd learning about all this stuff. I love it. So because today is positive affirmations, I would love for you to just go over, like, just generally speaking, like what are positive affirmations?
Yes. And before we jump in, I know we had mentioned this in our pre-talk. I wanted to just tell you, when I am recording in Costa Rica, so it's a rainy day, you might hear some rain, you might hear some birds, and just some fun jungle sounds. So if you're wondering what that is, there you go. Positive affirmations are a way, basically affirmations, psychotherapists love to make up words for things that you might have heard in other ways. Mantra, in hypnotherapy, we call it a suggestion. You could call it a thought, words that you say to yourself. It's just something that you want to happen in your life. It's what we're affirming in our life. And so a negative affirmation is something, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that we don't want to happen, that we're affirming in our life. So we really want to think of it as only speaking and thinking about the things that we want to have happen. So that's kind of what we also mean by positive, is, something happening versus just good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, just because I listened to you speak at another event, like, which is how I found you, when it really impacted me when you were talking about how the universe doesn't hear negative words, right? So it's like, we don't want the day to be scattered. I don't want to feel overwhelmed today. It's like the universe hears, I want to be overwhelmed, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's a really important distinction to make, positive and negative thoughts.
So what would we say instead then?
I want to feel calm today. I want to feel at ease today.
Exactly. Yeah. Affirming what you want to have happen.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You
I
learned
love
it.
it.
Got it. I love that.
You taught me. You taught me. Yeah, this is great. So, just how can we use positive affirmations when it comes to our productivity and time management and, all of that stuff?
Yes. I love talking about this topic in general. And as we were chatting earlier, we said this could be a very kind of long and depth topic. So just to be succinct about it, it really ties into achievement culture and our values and the stories that we're hearing from society, from culture, from our parents about how much we have to achieve, how much we have to produce in order to be worthy. And when it comes to what we're creating, what we're doing in our life, we can always kind of look at it in one of two ways. So positive affirmations, I always tell people, you're an adult, you get to choose how you think. So it's not about magically creating situations that are fake, but it's about looking at reality and choosing the positive and the healthier way to think about it and realizing I can choose to be nice to myself, or I can choose to talk to myself in a way that's mean or it's not going to work. And we have multiple layers. There's a layer of what we're actually doing, our productivity, right? And then there's a layer of judgment or how we treat ourselves and think about what we're doing. And let's say you're not being as productive as you'd like to be. You're already not going to be quote unquote achieving or doing as much as you'd like. So the way I see it is we don't need to add the extra layer of then beating ourselves up about that, because then it's just like double bad, instead of thinking of like, okay, well, I don't get the benefits of getting those things done. So let me think of a positive way to look at this, which might be, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm doing what I can for today. I'll make sure to be more efficient tomorrow in these ways, So it is looking at things realistically, but not thinking in a way that's going to make you feel worse and continue to not want to do what you need to do. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or something like this, like intuitively, I had a planner and I was in that like cycle of not being able to get as much done as I wanted to. And really that's kind of led me to what I'm doing today, which is like, I just started writing down all the things that I had done that day. And that was a huge shift in me personally and like my practice. And now I get to teach people to do have done lists. That's what I call them now. And
I love that.
It's a really beautiful practice just to like end your day or start your day just like what have you spent your time on, and some days it's Netflix and some days it's like it doesn't matter what it is, but yeah, bringing awareness to what you have done is super important to me in my journey and figuring out how to undo that layering of society, like that negative like judgment language. So yeah, that's a whole nother
I know.
conversation.
Yeah, it is. But, the main thing, which I just want to point out, is it always comes back to values. Because whether it's Netflix or cooking or hanging out with your friends, if you can learn to value those things that make you feel good and to do it in a way that's also structured and to realize we all need balance and whatever that looks like is okay, then, we can look at what we're doing and still feel good about it. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's about how we even define values or success.
Right.
So, it's a whole other topic, but very important.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad that you brought that up because, defining like what your values are is just like baseline, like amazing exercise to do whenever, whatever project you're working on or just in general. And then on top of that, being able to like figure out what success looks like for you is just so important. So how do you think that we can use positive affirmations to improve our relationship with time and our to-do lists?
Yes. So as you were mentioning before, you really want to look at, okay, let me back up. We want to have some kind of a self-practice, and it doesn't have to be an hour every day. It doesn't have to be this, candle lit under the stars yoga practice that you might see on Instagram. It's just thinking of it as a time to connect with yourself. So when you and I started this call, we started with a very simple, quick breathing exercise. that was very impactful. And it really, something like that added with maybe a mindfulness technique. What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I tasting? You know, there's many easy ways to spend 2 minutes here and there connecting with yourself. Then you can really start to bring your thoughts into awareness, because this is a big piece of it. Is before you can use positive affirmations, you have to know what you're thinking and if that's serving you or not. And this is, you know, many people tell me, oh, I'm not meditating properly because I'm thinking all of these thoughts. I'm like, no, you're now aware of those thoughts, and you weren't aware of those before. And you're talking to me about all these thoughts that you know, all these things you realized in meditation. That's what meditating does. And they're like, oh yeah. And then they can think, are these serving me or not? So once you have that time to check in with yourself, to check in with your breath, to feel what's going on inside and to hear how you're thinking, then you can say, okay, is this serving me or not? And then you can choose better ones. So when it comes to time and time management, like I said, there's no benefit as adults to treating ourselves poorly, to thinking badly about ourselves. So if your thought at the end of the day is, I'm worthless because I didn't get all these things done, then once you're aware of that thought, you need to find the positive thing to that. So again, I'm doing the best I can. My have done list, these are all the things that I did. These are, you know, my worthiness is connected. Wait, okay. It's hard to say. My worthiness isn't connected to my work, because we want to watch out for the negative. So maybe we'll just say I'm worthy, right? We'll just work on I'm worthy. So sometimes it's not even focusing on like what we're achieving, and having that good positive self-talk. So are there something, you know, phrases that often come up with your clients around time management that we could think of what a positive affirmation to that would be?
Yeah, you know, I want to like maybe dive a little bit into, I think a lot of people have a trouble connecting the I'm not worthy. They like, because it's not an aware thought. Like it's still a little bit deeper.
Right.
So could you speak a little bit to that of like, you know, people are like, I don't have issues with my worthiness, but I'm beating myself up for not getting my to-do list done. Like, how do you connect those?
Okay. Well, working with a therapist helps.
Yeah, that's true.
Because so the mind has many parts to it, right? It's got the unconscious, the conscious, the subconscious. It's as many, you know, as much as we've done studies and tried to understand the mind, I believe that as humans, we can never truly understand it, because again, that's a whole other conversation. But to really start to understand your unconscious and subconscious mind, you have to create space in your day for that. And often we're going. And from a young age, we're taught that we need to achieve, produce, work. That introspection, self-work, it's not valued. And it is more so now, especially where I'm from in California. There's a big culture of this, and, you know, in the States, especially, in other countries, not as much. But it is growing, this awareness of self-help, self-work, this talk of boundaries, relationships, but all these things weren't talked about before. It was, you know, again, we could go into so many different layers with that, but you really have to just give yourself time to become aware of these thoughts, you know, because if your worthiness is tied up with your, you know, your time, or you're feeling like you don't have enough time in your day, that is something deeper. You're doing too much. You know, you're trying to do more than is making you happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so yeah, one of the most common things is procrastinating, you know, that whole like procrastination cycle.
yes.
Like how could you use, you know, a positive affirmation to, where would you like chop the cycle down or something?
Yeah. I have a lot of clients who procrastinate. They're also perfectionists a lot of the time. They're also trying to do too much. There's a lot there, usually from culture telling them that they, you know, need to provide, they need to produce. So there's a lot there to be unwoven. And so I tell them you need to do less, and you need to find time in your day to have this self-practice, and because each person's thoughts around their time and what they're producing are individual to themselves. Mm-hmm. So if It's something like people aren't going to like me at work because I'm not getting everything done. You know, inherently, that's a value statement about yourself. It's placing your value in your work and in other people. So it's understanding, right, that we're putting our value into what we're producing. So what I produce is separate from my value, something like that.
Yeah.
My value is independent of what I create.
Yeah, I like that. And then
I'm valuable because, period.
Yeah, period. I am valuable, period.
Exactly, right? And so it's like, it's hard when we don't connect it specifically to time.
Right.
But when we do want to connect it to time, there's the trouble of getting caught up into the mental trap of valuing ourselves on what we're producing. So in a way, it is separating the two.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm kind of like having an epiphany as we're talking, by the way.
Yeah, no, I love it. I am too, actually. Like, this is great. Yeah, one of the other things that I hear a lot, a very common statement, I don't have enough time, or something of that nature. I don't have enough. So what would your take?
Coming from a scarcity mindset, so it's about working with abundance, and it's about, so I did a podcast episode about the self-care habits of people from Costa Rica versus Americans, because moving from America, that was one of the main reasons I left, because I came here and I was finally able to settle, and my life has changed in dramatic ways because of that. And when I hear people who work 60 to 80 hours a week tell me they don't have time for themselves and other people, and they take 2 weeks of vacation a week, and they're still working on those vacations, there's a big mirror that you need to look at there, because saying I don't have enough time is a story you're telling yourself. That goes to values. You haven't valued your time more or your relationships more than your work and what you're producing, because you're believing stories that you want to believe, right? It's our choice to believe them or not. I can't say they're true or not. There's no truth in the stories we believe. It's just our choice whether to believe them or not. If I want to believe I'm going to go live a jungle fantasy and surf all day and do yoga and still live my dreams out, and everyone's going to tell me, you're crazy, that's not what people do, you're a therapist, you can't do that. And I'm going to tell them, watch me, because I'm going to believe my own story. So I created my own time to live my life because I examined those stories. So it really is, when people tell me that, I just laugh at them, honestly. I'm very direct.
Yeah, I love it.
Build your point first, and then I'm like, no, that's a story.
Yeah. So I guess the positive affirmation, if you're struggling with that, could be, I have enough time. Like, literally just
I have time to do the things I love to do. Yeah. What am I choosing to do? I'm choosing to work too much. That's not a positive affirmation, but that's telling yourself the truth, because you have to take responsibility. Again, positive affirmations aren't about creating a fake reality. It's not about saying, I have enough time, and then magically you're going to have all the time. No, it's about realizing, the other part of it is looking at the negative affirmations. If you're saying, I don't have enough time, that's what you're affirming. I don't have enough time. I can't see you. I can't meditate. I can't spend 2 seconds taking deep breaths. I don't have enough time. Deadlines, my boss, and then it's the whole this, and I'm like, stop, let's go back to that. I have enough time. I'm choosing to make the time for myself. I'm choosing my family.
What would you say to someone who is a positive affirmation skeptic?
Yes. I would tell them to look up Dr. Masaru Emoto's work, which we talked about in the other presentation you saw. I'll give you a link for that. And he talks about the consciousness that surrounds water, and that it impacts water. And being that we are made up of water, if you believe in science, you can look up his work, because it's all about the resonance and the vibration of intentions and words, which our modern science hasn't actually caught up with, but is millennia old, and can go into a whole rabbit hole looking into that. And just on a very basic way, understanding that the words and the intentions that you use affect the water inside your body on a cellular level and can make it either healthy or disease-like. And there's a whole lot of information about how the mind body is connected, how the gut is linked to the brain, and all of those things. So, it's not just about, again, manifesting and creating a very fluffy life, but it's also about your health and feeling good and creating for yourself a reality in which you can thrive.
Yeah, I love that. And I actually have a funny short story to tell you. After I watched that video, I was telling my husband actually about that work with the snowflake. And so whenever like we're externally, we use each other to like help each other with any like shame thoughts or like anything like that out loud. And so our little like cute nickname now is Dumpy Snowflake. Whenever we're like, it's like Dumpy Snowflake, Dumpy Snowflake.
I love that. Yes. And so you'll have to include a link so people know they can see. It's when you speak beautiful words and have good intentions, which they did this across languages, then the water takes on a beautiful snowflake aesthetic structure, versus negative, mal-intentioned words took on this disease, like really icky looking structure. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Well, I just thank you so much for sharing all of your information, your wisdom, your experiences with us today. And if you have any questions for either Rima or I, like feel free to reach out, post in the comments below on anything that we talked about. And just one last question, if someone wanted to learn more about you or work with you, where would they find you?
You can go to RimaTheJungleGirl.com, RIMA, thejunglegirl.com, or on Instagram, RIMA_Danielle, Rima Danielle.
I love that. Thank you so much. And we'll put all the links, of course, in the bottom below. And thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.